Hello everyone, my name is Laxmipriya. In today's session, we'll deal with a new chapter of Indian polity by M. Laxmikanth, that is fundamental duties. Article 51A under Part 4A of the Constitution deals with the fundamental duties. Okay, see, in original Constitution, it contained only fundamental rights but not fundamental duties. Later in 1976, fundamental duties were added to the Constitution. See, originally we have 10 fundamental duties, but 86th Constitutional Amendment Act of 2002, it included one more fundamental duty. So at present we have 11 fundamental duties. These fundamental duties were inspired by the erstwhile USSR. These fundamental duties in the Indian Constitution was inspired by the erstwhile USSR. See, none of the constitutions of major democratic countries like US, Canada, France, Germany, Australia and so on, okay, they doesn't contain any list of duties of the citizens. Okay, Japanese constitution is the only democratic constitution in the world which consists of the list of duties for the citizens. Okay, the socialistic countries on other side, they have the fundamental rights and duties to their citizens. Okay, see, in our constitution, these fundamental duties were recommended by the Swaran Singh committee. Okay, Swaran Singh committee. Swaran Singh committee recommended for the fundamental duties. This Swaran Singh committee was set up by the Congress in 1976. Okay, this committee, okay, Swaran Singh committee recommended for the separate chapter on fundamental duties in the Constitution. Congress accepted the recommendations of the Swaran Singh committee and enacted the 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act of 1976. Okay, 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act of 1976. Okay, 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act of 1976. This included Part 4A of the Constitution and consists of only one article, that is Article 51A. Okay, Part A of Constitution, it includes only one article, that is Article 51A. And one more thing is, Swaran Singh committee, it suggested for the incorporation of 8 fundamental duties, but 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act of 1976, it included 10 fundamental duties. Okay, this is a brief introduction of the fundamental duties. Fundamental duties in the Indian Constitution are inspired by the erstwhile USSR. Okay, Swaran Singh committee recommendations. In 1976, Congress party set up a Sardar Swaran Singh committee to make recommendations about fundamental duties, the need and necessity of which was felt during the operation of internal emergency. Okay, during the internal emergency, Congress party, it set up a Sardar Swaran Singh committee to make the recommendations about the fundamental duties in 1976. It stressed that citizens should become conscious that in addition to the enjoyment of rights, they also have certain duties to perform. Okay, this amendment, this amendment added a new part, namely Part 4A to the Constitution. This part consists of, and it contains only one article, that is Article 51A. Okay, for the first time specified the code of 10 fundamental duties. Okay, it specified 10 fundamental duties. Though Swaran Singh committee suggested the incorporation of 8 fundamental duties, the 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act of 1976, it included 10 fundamental duties. Okay, Swaran Singh committee, it suggested only 8 fundamental duties, but 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act, it included 10 fundamental duties. Interestingly, certain recommendations of committee were not accepted by the Congress party. Okay, whatever recommendations which were made by the Sardar Swaran Singh committee, all those recommendations were not accepted by the Congress party, hence not incorporated in the constitution. Okay, let us see what are they. What were the recommendations that were not accepted by the Congress party? First one, the Parliament may provide for the imposition of such penalty or punishment as may be considered appropriate for any non-compliance with or refusal to observe any of the duties. Okay, see, Parliament may provide for the imposition of such penalty or punishment if there is any refusal to observe any of the duties. If any member didn't follow their duty, then Parliament may provide the imposition of such penalty. This was not accepted by the Congress party. Next, no law imposing such penalty or punishment shall be called in question in any court on the ground of infringement of any of the fundamental rights or on grounds of repugnancy to any other provisions of the Constitution. See, no law imposing such penalty shall be called in any court on the ground of infringement of fundamental rights. This was also not accepted by the Congress. Duty to pay taxes should be the fundamental duty. This was also not accepted by the Congress. Okay. Next. Now let us see the list of fundamental duties important for prelims. Okay. According to Article 51A, it shall be the duty of every citizen of India to abide by the Constitution and respect its ideals and institutions, national flag and national anthem. Okay, first fundamental duty is to abide by the Constitution and to respect its ideals and institutions, national flag and national anthem. Next, to cherish and follow the noble ideas that inspired the national struggle for freedom. Okay, second fundamental duty is to cherish and follow the noble ideals that inspired the national struggle for freedom. Next, to uphold and protect the sovereignty, unity and integrity of India. Third fundamental duty is to uphold and protect the sovereignty, unity and integrity of India. Next, to defend the country and render national services when called upon to do so. Okay. To defend the country, to protect the country and to render the national service when there is a need. Next fundamental duty is to promote harmony and the spirit of common brotherhood amongst all the persons of India, transcending religion, linguistic or regional or sectional diversities, or to renounce the practices derogatory to the dignity of women. Okay, to promote the harmony and spirit of common brotherhood to all the people of India, either religious, linguistic, on the basis of religious, linguistic, regional or sectional. Okay, and to renounce the practices derogatory to the dignity of women. Next, to value and preserve the rich heritage of our country's composite culture. Next fundamental duty is to value and preserve the rich heritage of country's composite culture. Next, to protect and improve the natural environment including forests, lakes, rivers and wildlife, and to have the compassion for living creatures. Okay, next fundamental duty is to protect and improve the natural environment including forests, lakes, rivers and wildlife, and to have compassion for the living creatures. Next, to develop scientific temper, humanism and the spirit of inquiry and reform. Okay, next fundamental duty is to develop scientific temper, humanism and the spirit of inquiry and reform. Okay, next, to safeguard public property and to abjure violence. Okay, to safeguard public property and to stop violence. Next, to strive towards the excellence in all spheres of individuals and to collect activities so that the nation constantly rises to higher levels of endeavor and achievement. Okay, next fundamental duty is to strive towards excellence in all the spheres of individual and collective activity so that nation constantly rises to higher levels of endeavor and achievement. Next, to provide opportunities for education of his child or ward between the age of 6 and 14 years. Okay, to provide the opportunities for education and to his child or ward between the age of 6 and 14 years. This duty was added by the 86th Constitutional Amendment Act of 2002. Okay, this is the 11th fundamental duty. This was added by the 86th Constitutional Amendment Act of 2002. It says to provide the opportunities for education to his children or what between the age of 6 to 14 years. Okay, all these are the list of fundamental duties which are important for prelims. Next, features of fundamental duties. Following points can be noted with regard to the characteristics of fundamental duties. First one, some of them are moral duties while other are civic duties. Okay, fundamental duties, some of them are moral duties and some of them are civic duties. Next, they refer to such values which have been part of the Indian tradition, mythology, religions and practices. In other words, they essentially contain just a codification of tasks integral to the Indian way of life. Okay, they refer to such values which have been a part of Indian tradition, mythology, religious and practices. Okay, they codified to the tasks integral to Indian way of life. Next, unlike some of the fundamental rights which extend to all the persons, whether citizens or foreigners, the fundamental duties are confined only to citizens, okay, not to foreigners. Some of the fundamental rights are available to both citizens as well as foreigners, right? Okay, what are the articles which are not provided for foreigners? Article 15, 16, 19, 29 and 30. Okay, article 15, 16, 19, 29 and 30. These articles are provided only for the citizens but not for the foreigners. Okay, see, some of the fundamental rights which are extended to all persons, whether citizens or foreigners. Fundamental duties are only for the citizens. Okay, all the fundamental duties are only for the citizens but not for the foreigners. Okay, next, like the DPSP's, fundamental duties are also non-justiciable. Okay, that means they are not enforceable by court. Okay, Constitution does not provide for the direct enforcement by the courts. Fundamental rights are justiciable, right? They are directly enforceable by courts, right? Fundamental rights are justiciable and they are enforceable by courts, but DPSPs and fundamental duties, okay, fundamental duties, they both are non-justiciable and they are not enforceable by the court. Moreover, there is not a legal sanction against their violation. Okay, there is no legal sanction against their violation. That means if any citizen violates the fundamental duties, there will not be any legal sanction on them. Okay, however, the Parliament is free to enforce them by suitable legislation. But Parliament is free to enforce them by suitable legislation. Okay, Parliament has the power to punish them. Next, significance of fundamental duties. They serve as a reminder to the citizens that while enjoying their rights, they should also be conscious of their duties. Okay, what is the significance of fundamental duties? It serves as a reminder to the citizens that they should be conscious about their duties while enjoying their rights. Okay, next, they serve as a warning against the anti-national and anti-social activities like burning the national flag, destroying public property and so on. Okay, they serve as a warning against the anti-national and anti-social activities like burning the national flag, destroying public property and so on. They serve as a source of inspiration for the citizens and promote a sense of discipline and commitment among them. Okay, fundamental duties, they serve as the inspiration for the citizens and promote the sense of discipline and commitment among them. They create a feeling that the citizens are not mere spectators but active participants in the realization of the national goals. Okay, it creates a feeling that the citizens are not spectators but they have to participate in the national goals. Next, they help the courts in examining and determining the constitutional validity of a law. Okay, fundamental duties, they help the courts in examining and determining the constitutional validity of the law. Next, in 1992, the Supreme Court ruled that in determining the constitutionality of any law, if the court finds that the law in question seeks to give effect to the fundamental duty, it may consider such law to be reasonable in the relation to Article 14 or Article 19 and thus save such law from unconstitutionality. Okay, that means Supreme Court, regarding the constitutionality of any law, it said that if any of the law gives effect on the fundamental duties, it would be considered as a reasonable restriction. Okay, reasonable restriction in relation to Article 14 or 19, such that that law is not considered as unconstitutional. Okay, next, they are enforceable by law. See, fundamental duties are not enforceable by court, but they are enforceable by law. Hence, Parliament can provide for the imposition of appropriate penalty or punishment for failure to fulfill any of them. Okay, that means Parliament can provide for the imposition of penalty or punishment if any citizen failed to fulfill their duty. Okay, with this we are done with the fundamental duties. Next, we'll see the amendment of Constitution. Thank you.